Hey everybody, it's Rafi at ZURB, and I got another great lesson for you today. Foundation is all about setting your brand identity quickly and easily, and the Sass version helps you do that even faster. So the Sass version comes with a settings file. It's got a ton of variables in it where you can adjust the default settings in Foundation and change button sizes and padding and spacing and all kinds of other stuff. So we're gonna check that out today, and I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks. Let's check it out. All right. So we have this layout that we just scaffolded here, and it's got a lot of different components. So we have a top bar, we have some buttons, some typography, callouts, and a footer, and some various other things. So what we're gonna do is use the settings file in Foundation to quickly theme this scaffold. So you'll find that in source, assets, SCSS, _ settings.scss. So right at the top of this file, you have your table of contents. It's got all the Foundation components that have SCSS variables are listed in here. And the first section is global variables. So these variables affect everything in the site, or they're also variables that are used in specific components. So one important one that you may or may not use is the global font size. This is not just the typography font size, but this affects the size of everything because they're based in rems. So if I was to bump this up to 120% and then save that, you see that everything gets bigger. The grid gets bigger, the font sizes get bigger, the buttons get bigger. Because the entire code base is built in relative units, so that's rems, it actually scales up automatically using this one variable, which is really nice if you want your sizing to increase or even decrease a bit. So all controlled right there. Defaults at 100%. Another one that you might use is the global width. So the global width is your actual row width. So the width of your rows is constrained to 1200 pixels maximum right now. This rem calc is actually really neat. What this does is it converts pixels to rems for you, so that way everything's still in relative units. But if you're used to thinking in pixels, this is a really nice tool. So let's switch that to 1000, and then see that everything shrinks down to 1000 pixel maximum width. So another thing you'll be using is the color palette. So we could swap in different colors here, and I'll show you how that works. So we'll do a nice color palette that we came up for this. So we'll change the primary color, we'll change the secondary color. 3. All right, so already you're seeing some differences. Very nice color palette here. So what this does is it changes, this map actually allows you to add or change some colors. So not only can you change the values of the colors, but you can add a different color. Now I can't think of a name, so let's say like tertiary, and then I put a different value in here. What this will do is add another color class that I can use. So that's really neat. So I can set my brand colors right here with these. Now success is typically used for when something happened, like an action was triggered, and you can alert a success, like, hey, your login was successful, or you changed your password successfully. Typically you'll use that. Typically it's a green color, but you can make it anything you want. We have warning and alert colors here as well. Of course, you see some other colors here. There's 3 grays that come with Foundation. You can adjust those right here. And just the black and the white. Now these variables are used throughout the application. I'll show you that. So another thing you might do is change the body background. Let's say we want to globally change all the page background colors to a different color. So let's hard code a different color in here. So ECF 0F1. So now we change the global background. Now, another thing you could do is you could actually use variables in other variables. So instead of doing that, let's revert that. So you can see this is already set to whatever white is. White is defined above it. So that's important that whatever variable you're gonna target needs to be defined above it. So let's actually change our light gray to that color. And then we'll actually set our background to light gray. So that's how you can use a variable with another variable. And that way, if I ever change the light gray, I only need to change it in one place. Every time light gray is used throughout the entire website, it'll be updated. So if I search for light gray, you can see in the settings file that it's also used for the code background, it's used for keystroke background, it's used for accordion background item on hover, it's used for content border, input, prefix, background. So these variables basically store the value of whatever this light gray is and let you reuse it over and over and over again without having to retype it in every single place. So that's really nice. Going back to the global variables, there's a few more important ones that you might use, like global margin, global padding, and of course you could set flexbox components here as well. Global radius is a good one. So let's take a look and see if we want to change the button radius. So we'll go find buttons. Okay, so button radius is a variable that is available to you, and right now it's set to global radius. Now you can hard code 5 pixels in here if you want, but the reason that it's set to global radius is so that way you could set a singular global radius up here in the global section, and this radius will be used on anything else that also uses the global radius variable. So let's say I want this to be 10 pixels. You can see right away that now my buttons have this nice 10 pixel border radius, and so do my callouts. So this will affect, and this callout as well here too. So this will affect any component that uses the global radius, and what this helps you do is keep a consistent styling throughout your entire website or application. If you didn't use this, then you might run into places where some people are using 5 pixels, some people are using 7 pixels. Using it in this stored variable here makes that consistency a lot easier, especially across a team of people. So another thing is nice, your breakpoints are stored in here. These are min widths, so you can change your global breakpoints right here. And then, of course, a lot of typography styles. So we have one typography type that we'll reuse over and over again is your body font color. So that's set right here in the global section. It's set to black. Of course, you can change that value, but let's take a look at how you can actually use some of these settings variables or these variables that are in the framework themselves in your own components. So we'll take a look at one of these components here. So I have a product card that has a bunch of styles. Now you can see that we're setting the color in some of these classes to be set to the body font color, and the color here, and the color here. Now, this is really important that if you use the variables here, it's really nice that later down the road you want to change your brand color, your body font color to be like some kind of lighter gray, like a 999 or something, maybe like a darker gray like this. That you could do it from one stored variable, and then it goes and affects everywhere that's using that body font color variable. So really powerful stuff. Using variables in your own components is something you can do. And then another thing that we also recommend, this is kind of a tip and trick, the way that the settings file is imported into app.scss, it's actually imported before the framework files. So you see how settings comes in first. This is read first. What happens is the Sass compiler goes through all the settings and then it applies them to the base styles of Foundation. So that's how this actually works. So What that means is you can actually add your own global variables right here. So custom global, I'm just separating them out so it's easier for people to read and see, and then I would set my own custom global variables. For example, one that we use here a lot is global transition. So might set this to all so that way it works on everything. 0.25 seconds and then ease in. So something like this would be a really great custom global variable that you would use for your own project. And then you can use other things. Let's say I want to add a custom blue color. So let's say I might call it darker blue. Okay, so I would set that to, I don't know, a blue color off the top of my head. Oh yes I do. Let's see. OE79B2. Cool. Yeah, I remember colors off the top of my head. So that's another thing you can do, is add your own custom variables into Foundation as well. So there's a ton of setting variables in here that you can play with to get your spacing, your radius, your colors, your typography just right. So what the best practice is to go ahead and look here first if there's something that you want to change. That way you can set it globally here and reduce any kind of code repetition, hand coding if needed, and also keep your styles consistent across your entire website, app, and with your team members. So there's a lot more that you can do with the settings file that I hadn't mentioned, but definitely check this out, see what's in it, and it's gonna really speed up your production and really help your projects flow a lot smoother. All right, so that's it for this week's lesson. If you're looking for a deeper dive into Foundation Sass, check out our Advanced Foundation class. And we're putting out new videos all the time, so hit the subscribe button so the Yeti could get a new cave. See you next week.